Dragon Stratagem, Soul Blaster, by John Adams Theobald Jr. Synopsis: in a world where dragons and humans have coexisted with an uneasy peace for 30,000 years, the Dragon King devises a plan to destroy humanity. The ancient ancestors of the dragons accidentally create the humans during a final battle for the planet with a horrifying creature they also have unwittingly created. The dragons finally defeat the horrible creature, but in the following thousands of years, they war with the humans and eventually make a tentative peace. The dragon egg trade allows humans to have dragons as companions, and the dragons of the dragon lands get magical minerals that the humans mine in return. Now the dragons have had enough of the humans, taking their precious eggs, and the Dragon King demands that the humans hand over their beloved princess or face all-out war. Massive battles ensue, and the world will be rocked by wars as never before. The fate of humanity hangs in the balance, and the father of the princess that the dragons demand must overcome his cowardice and rise to the challenge of the Dragon Stratagem. Prologue: the treaties. The king of the dragons and 100 of his highest-ranking dragon guards had flown over the great western ocean and came within eyeshot of the white cliffs of Thethal, which was on the western shore of the continent of Myrosha. They were making an annual visit to the human-controlled lands to exchange their precious dragon eggs to humans for the mulled gold, magical gems, and crystals that the humans mined. King Moldok of the human lands had large piles of mulled gold, colorful gemstones, and sparkling crystalline minerals in blackish purple. Dragon iron pots 25 feet in diameter. The pots had dragon iron chains attached to them so that the dragons could carry them as payment for their eggs. The dragons, loyal to the humans, laid the enormous dragon iron pots in several rows in the middle of the vast throne room of Castle Stranglorn. Many distinguished guests of King Moldok were arrayed at ornately engraved timber tables, sitting on wooden chairs of intricate designs. The dragons from the Dragonlands flew across the continent of Myrosha, the city of Wishoran, Grand Loch Cadravance, and the Belfor Mountains. Eventually they flew to the capital city of Vinefair. Vinefair was located on the eastern shore of Myrosha, which borders the Sea of Trontiers. The dragons from the west landed outside the towering, opened dragon iron doors of Castle Stranglorn. Human guards, adorned in gleaming mulled gold armor, were standing on their dragon companions' backs. Their dragon companions were on the wide cobblestone road leading to the castle doors. Many dragons flew overhead or perched on ledges of the castle, with or without dragon riders standing on their backs. The dragons from the west brought with them large egg-carrying vessels, similar to the large pots that contained that for which they had come, and upon landing, the western dragons placed their egg-carrying vessels, made from dragon iron, on the cobblestone courtyard in front of the doors of the castle. The king of the dragons entered first and released a fiery bellow upon entering Castle Stranglorn. The humans sitting on the sides of the throne room could feel the sonic vibration and radiant heat produced by the dragon's fiery breath. King Moldok stood up from his throne to receive the Dragon King. The Dragon King entered the throne room, followed by his entourage. They tell me, Vimgrum, that you're bringing only half as many eggs as usual. Is there any reason for this reduction in our trade? Agreement? King Moldok yelled boisterously for the King of the Dragons to hear. Moldok's dragon language interpreter stood on the balcony above the king's throne. The dragon language interpreter listened to the dragon's deep rumbling growl and high-pitched metallic screeching and responded to Moldok. I apologize, Moldok, the king of Zordrum, but the world population of dragons is too high. To keep it under control, we have reduced the number of eggs we offer by half. Consequently, this is all that we can provide. I hope you understand the trade agreement cannot impose upon our egg production capacity. Therefore, we will only take half of the payment that you are offering, the dragon interpreter said in his airy, raspy, whispery voice, which was still audible even with the boisterous noises from the dragon. King Moldok nodded in agreement with a disappointed look on his face, and with that, the dragons from the west took half of the pots as payment. They carried them out by their mouths into the outer courtyard, where they had placed the dragon egg-carrying vessels. The dragons from the west clasped the dragon iron chains in their claws and flew up into the air, taking the payment by the treaties that ended the war of the dragons 30,000 years before. The guards sent signals into their dragons' long, slender, scaly tendrils protruding from their dragons' backs. Holding the dragons' tendrils in their hands, they gave their dragons commands in mental images. The guards had their dragons grab the egg-carrying vessels by their jaws and bring them into the throne room. After they had taken the egg-carrying vessels into the throne room, the king ordered that his subjects who had come to receive eggs stand up and line up next to the vessels with the front of the line at the base of the throne's dais. Moldok stood up from his throne and walked down the stairs in front of his throne. Moldok lifted a handle on the front of the closest egg-carrying vessel, opening a door that became a ramp when lowered. The door opened with a metallic squeak and rattle and lowered with a loud, resounding clatter and gong. The king entered the egg-carrying vessel by the ramp and grabbed an egg out of the hemispherical dragon iron cradle with a small, round, flat stone slate at the bottom that kept the egg incubated. The king turned around with a blue and pink speckled egg about the size of a large melon and commanded that the first in line come up to receive their Zordgurn dragon egg. A yearly lottery run determined the order in which the king's subjects stood in line before the dragons came with their eggs. The annual lottery was only for children who were the age of 8. The dragon egg glinted with hints of tiny crystals covering its surface. A girl about 8, wearing a blue dress, blonde hair, and pink ribbons in her ponytails, walked up with a broad smile to see the egg the king was holding. "This is your dragon now. Take care of it, and it will take care of you," the king said. "I shall, sire. Thank you extremely much," the girl said. "What is your name, my dear?" the king asked. "I am Thorilla, your highness," Thorilla said, bowing as she received her egg in her outstretched hands. Thorilla returned from her bow, revealing a continued robust and sunny smile, graced by glittering sapphire blue eyes, as she took the egg from the king. The king smiled back with a bearded grin, his silvery beard partially obscuring his face. Thorilla could feel the rough texture of the egg's surface covered with millions of tiny, abrasive crystals. She also felt the baby dragon moving around in the shell, making it awkward to hold, and giggled as she steadied the egg. Thorilla held the dragon egg up to the torchlight, situated conveniently at the eye level of a girl her age. Thorilla saw the first glimpse of her dragon companion through the slightly translucent, mineralized eggshell. She could see the faint silhouette of her dragon fetus as it kicked its legs, wobbled its head, and thrashed its tail in the fetal position as it floated in the embryonic fluid. She smiled again, cradled her warm dragon egg, and cooed at it. She heard the dragon embryo thumping, buzzing, and clicking in response to her affectionate and delightful voice. She walked down the stairs and showed her parents the egg she had received. She named her dragon Celathinia, Thorilla's. Parents immediately sent her to a dragon-raising school after receiving her egg. Dragon-raising school helped preserve the dragon egg trade treaties by raising the dragons properly. The king continued giving out dragon eggs until half of the children who had come received an egg. Having emptied the last egg-carrying vessel, the king walked up to his throne and told everyone who was left that they would have to wait until the next annual visit because of the dragon egg shortage in the lands. Across Great Western Ocean, the king's subjects, who happened to be last in line and did not receive a dragon egg, left with sighs and groans. Yet they knew, or their parents told them, that the king was powerless to get more dragon eggs from the Western dragons.